Dictionary making. Dictionary making begins with the collection of data from a language. In a step-by-step process, one has to select lexical items, arrange them in alphabetical order, select head words, select entry words, provide pronunciation, supply etymological information, grammatical and morphological information, work out definitions of words, provide meanings, refer to usage, and provide citations from texts. All these are normally done for a general dictionary, while a special dictionary will ask for specialized treatment. Although the information of the types stated above is normally included in a general reference dictionary, the range of information can vary depending on the needs of end users or the purpose of the dictionary, and the steps, however, are closely interlinked. The number of lexical items of a living language will always increase with time. Therefore, a dictionary maker can never include all the lexical units of a language with all their meanings, sub-meanings, and collocations. Moreover, processes like collection and selection of lexical entries are determined by various factors such as size, type, and purpose of the dictionary, status and formal variations of words, different local and social variations in a language use, and many other factors. An entry in a dictionary usually consists of a single lexical unit along with its lexicographical description. In principle, a lexical unit, as a part of the entire lexical system of a language, is related to other lexical units. However, when it is presented separately as an independent entry form in dictionary, it creates a universe of its own. As a unique lexical unit, it depicts its own characteristic linguistic features along with information of its denotative representation to the external world. As a unique lexical unit, it depicts its own characteristic linguistic features along with information of its denotative representation to the external world, its semantic characteristics, its relational interface with other words, its use with other lexical units in larger constructions, and its cultural, historical, and social peculiarities it represents in the language. Lexicographic word. One of the basic problems in lexicography is the definition of the lexical unit or lexicographic word. Generally, a lexicographic word is equated with a linguistic word, since the bulk of lexical units of a dictionary are usually called the words in general sense. But in the true sense of the term, a lexicographic word is not necessarily the same as a linguistic word. The scope of the concept called lexicographic word is much wider than linguistic word. A lexicographic word theoretically does not need to be minimum or free-form as a word is. Although a dictionary is called as a list of specialized linguistic forms, all linguistic forms do not find their place here. In order to be included in a dictionary, a linguistic item has to have an independent linguistic entity, both formal and semantic. Besides being a linguistic word, a lexicographic word can be also the followings: a letter, for example, A and K and all those letters used in English alphabet, because of their special function in the linguistic system, and the tradition of the language may be treated as lexicographic word. An affix, due to its function in the linguistic system, may be treated as a lexicographic word. A phrase, an idiom, or a proverb is also treated as a lexicographic word. A grammatical structure with many words may also be treated as lexicographic word. A sentence, if it has special significance, can also be treated as a lexicographic word. Inflected forms such as boys, benches, braids, etc., on the other hand, are not included in the dictionary unless they show some semantic or functional peculiarities. On the other hand, derived forms like boys, childhood, beautiful are included in the dictionary because they have independent meanings. In our argument, in all inflected forms similar to that of derived forms should be treated as lexicographic words and should be included in the dictionary on the same logic forwarded in favor of the derived words. Each lexical inflected item, like derived form, has a separate linguistic identity, unique function, unique form, unique meaning, and unique usage pattern. Therefore, inflected words should be considered as valid lexical entry in the dictionary and may be treated in the same manner as other entries are treated. In the present digital frame, this is not a problem as paucity of space is no more a constraint in dictionary compilation. Since a lexicographic word is not necessarily a free form, a bound form or a dependent morpheme with communicative peculiarities and potentiality to be applied in a new construction can be treated as lexicographic word. Thus, affixes, postpositions, particles, prepositions, classifiers, case markers, tense markers, and other word formative properties are included in dictionary because they form the part of the lexicon of a language and make communications possible. In a sense, the content of the entry differs according to the size and purpose of a dictionary, which determines the type of definition, number of illustrative examples, and collocations. The information provided by an entry word in a learner's dictionary is different from that in a general or reference dictionary. An entry in a historical dictionary may have special features of presenting illustrative examples from different texts to elaborate treatment of etymologies, etc., which are not found in a general reference dictionary. An entry in a pronunciation dictionary, on the other hand, says nothing about the sense discrimination or illustrative examples, but only provides information on the pronunciation that may be controlled by meaning and parts of speech. In a general dictionary, an entry word usually contains the following elements: headword, spelling and pronunciation, etymology, morphology and grammar, meaning, and illustrative examples, which are discussed in the following sections. Headwords. The lemma form of an entry word is a headword. It is also called the citation form. The form and meaning are the main criteria for the selection of a headword. For this, a canonical form is selected from the paradigm. The basic criteria of a canonical form are related with its capacity for occurring in isolation, high frequency of occurrence, and its ability to stand for the whole paradigm. Although the canonical forms are selected as headwords, all the forms in a paradigm need to be examined because irregular forms like man and main, buy and bought, write and written require special treatment since they cannot be covered by the general rules of inflection. The irregular forms are included in the dictionary to show their relation to the canonical forms. Generally, such forms are treated in the following way in the dictionary. The canonical form is given the status of a headword, and the irregular forms are given along with it in the entry. When the irregular forms occur at their alphabetical place, a cross-reference is made to the headword. In addition to the form, the meaning of the lexical unit should also be kept in mind in the selection of headwords. If any form in the paradigm does not have the same meaning as that of the canonical form, the form is given a special treatment and becomes a separate entry. For instance, waters, noun in plural form, as in cast or throw one's bread upon the waters, do a good action without requiring reward, although later some unexpected return may come. Similarly, lexical units with double forms, each having a slightly different lexical meaning as per brother and brothers and brethren, are given separate entries. The scientific plurals of index and formula are indexes and formulae, as opposed to the general at indexes and formulas, are also treated in the same manner. That means selection of headwords and may be controlled by several linguistic and extra-linguistic issues relating to the language for which a dictionary is being compiled. Spelling. There is the selection of the headwords, and the next problem is related to spelling of the headwords. A language such as English, where words exhibit no variation in spelling, presents no problem in this respect. This, however, is not a simplified challenge, as there are notable variations in spelling between British and American English. But in a language like Bangla, where there is nearly 20% of the total vocabulary exhibits spelling variation, the selection of one particular spelling out of multiple alternatives available in the language is a serious problem. The question that arises in this situation is, which spelling should be selected for the headword? Since there is no simple way to overcome this problem, the frequency of use of each variant in the language is one of the most reliable criteria. The best means to achieve this is to assemble all the words that show spelling variations from a large corpus of written text samples. In subsequent stages, these variant forms are arranged in the order of frequency to find out which variant has the highest percentage of occurrence. Obviously, the most frequent variant form should be selected for the dictionary. The question of grammatical validity or morphological authenticity of a particular variant may arise to challenge the selection of a particular spelling made by statistical method. This cannot be ignored. Rather, it should be addressed adequately to come out with an acceptable solution. If required, grammarians or etymologists can be consulted to provide the necessary guidelines in the selections of appropriate spelling of the headwords known to have with multiple spelling variations. Pronunciation. The headwords is followed by pronunciation as an optional feature, which depends on the type of a dictionary. The general assumption is that in a monolingual dictionary, this may not be necessary because it is assumed that the dictionary users, being the native speakers of the language, have enough knowledge about the pronunciations of words. For example, no Bangla monolingual dictionary carries information about pronunciation of the headwords because the dictionary compilers believe that all Bengali speakers know by heart the standard pronunciation of the words. Therefore, there is no need to provide pronunciation of the words in the dictionary. But in principle, we firmly argue that all monolingual dictionaries should carry information of pronunciation of words because there are wide gaps between the written form of words and their pronunciation. And most of the Bangla dictionary users are not aware about the features of the language. This can be a real problem for the Bangla language learners, as they are often faced with the problem of proper pronunciation of words for which they do not have any dictionary to consult. The Oxford English Dictionary, one of the most consulted dictionaries in the world, meticulously presents the standard English pronunciation for each and every word included into the dictionary. It is known that majority of British speakers use this dictionary quite frequently to learn accurate pronunciation of the words. In a dictionary for non-native speakers, information about pronunciation is a mandatory criterion. It cannot avoid this essential property. Usually, information of pronunciation of the headwords is given in international phonetic alphabets. However, Since pronunciation is an important piece of information for the dictionary users, and since majority of dictionary users do not know IPA symbols, it is rational and pertinent to present the pronunciation of words in the standard conventional orthography of a language. In fact, people who are not acquainted with IPA symbols will have problems to learn about the pronunciation of words if only IPA is used in dictionary. In the present state, when dictionaries are being produced in digital form, the pronunciation of words is far better represented through audio clips, where dictionary users can directly listen to the audio clip of the pronunciation of the words to know how these are actually pronounced. Etymology. A general reference dictionary provides brief etymological information of headwords, while a historical or etymological dictionary supplies detailed etymological information. The main function of etymological information is to elucidate the origin of a head word. Also, at certain contexts, it helps to clarify the meaning of the lexical unit, whose meanings appear to be obscured. For instance, the Bangla word Firingi Rog refers to syphilis. A reference to its etymology informs us that the disease is introduced in Bengal by the foreigners, since the meaning of Firingi refers to a foreigner. As a matter of fact, etymology explains the original or the early meanings of the words. In some cases, it provides clues to understand the obscure meanings also. A general dictionary provides brief information of etymology with the help of the origin tags indicating the source language and the source forms of the lexical unit. For instance, the Bangla word Choto is a derived form from Sanskrit word Skudra, which means small. Morphology and grammar. Morphological and grammatical information is also provided in a general reference dictionary. The question of giving grammatical information in a general dictionary has to be examined from 3 points of view: the type of grammatical information to be included, the quality of information to be represented, the method of presentation of information in the dictionary. Morphological information refers to the morphosyntactic peculiarities noted in a lexical item. The grammatical information, on the other hand, gives the morphologically and syntactically important information, which is related either to irregular or unpredictable forms of the lexical unit, or has certain bearing on the syntactic function of the lexical unit. For example, in Hindi, the form and meaning of a word do not provide any indication about its gender, since gender in Hindi is entirely grammatical. As a result, it is essential for a general Hindi dictionary to give information of this type. Dictionaries generally give information about the transitive and intransitive features of verbs. Needless to say, a transitive verb has objects while an intransitive verb does not have it. So, when a dictionary gives this information, it gives the syntactical clues to the readers. Similarly, when a dictionary provides information about countable and uncountable nouns, it tries to indicate that uncountable nouns do not have any plural forms, and if they have it, there lies a difference in meaning. The grammatical information in a dictionary is determined by the nature of the structure of a language. The simpler the grammar of a language, the lesser the grammatical information is required. Generally, the information of irregular grammatical features is provided while the regular paradigms of words are presented in appendix. There are different ways of providing grammatical information. The usual lexicographic practice is that all relevant grammatical information is provided either to each head word or in appendix or at the introduction. The grammatical information provided with words of two types: identificational grammatical information and delimitational grammatical information. Identificational grammatical information identifies the lexical entry. It is given with the lexical items having full paradigm to refer to the primary grammatical categories of words as nouns, adjective, verb, adverb, etc. Delimitational grammatical information is given for lexical items which have only partial or depleted paradigms. For example, lexical items occurring only in singular or plural forms are marked as delimited grammatical information. Semantic information. The semantic information of a lexical item is an essential part of a general reference dictionary. There are various methods of defining semantic information of of meaning of words. These include simple description, definition of lexical units, equations. A lexical unit is being equated with another lexical unit of similar meaning, illustrative examples, illustrative pictures, glosses, cross references, etymology, and labels. All the different types of mechanism enumerated above are not required for each lexical item. In some cases, only one mechanism may suffice, while for others, more than one may be required. For example, for a technical term, illustrative examples may not be necessary. But a polysemous word will need many illustrations for its different meanings and sub-meanings. For borrowed words, the source or the etymology is considered essential. For a lexical unit with restricted use, some indications of its restrictions in use are useful. Some words may require to be defined by the basic form or family of words by way of cross-reference. It is always useful to define a word in more than one way, since there should be no one way to define a word. In defining, the end justifies the means, and the end should always be conveyed as accurately, as succinctly as possible. The sense of the word being defined here. The meaning of a lexical unit is the sum total of its interpersonal impression in a society. So, words have to be defined in wider frames within all their socially accepted meanings. Since there is no scope for personal whims and fancies in dictionary making, we cannot define a word in the way we like. We have to define a word as it exists in the language or as it is used by the language users, and not as it should be. The writing of a dictionary is therefore not the task of setting up authoritative statements about the true meanings of words, but a task of recording to the best of one's ability what various words have meant to authors in the distant or immediate past. The writer of a dictionary is a historian, not a lawgiver, as Hayakawa has mentioned nearly 50 years back. Illustrative examples and citations. Illustrative examples are used to show how a word is used in a characteristic context. This helps to clarify and distinguish the finer shades of meaning, especially in the case of polysemous words. According to Barnhart, the central place in the entry is the most cases might be given to what one conventionally called illustrations. They are simply carefully selected and properly edited contexts for the entry word. What are traditionally called definitions might then be considered explanatory comment on citations, rubrics to indicate what brings together a group of them and what peculiarities are significant. Definitions can be entered as the central entity only in the functions of a dictionary is actually to tell what a word means. It is rather to help the normal processes of finding senses. The citations must be central, for they are in the input of the senses discovering processes. The utility of illustrative examples is manifold, as has been envisaged by lexicographers. They provide evidence that a lexical unit exists in the language with a particular meaning. They help to illustrate that the first and last known occurrences of a lexical unit, its typical collocations, sense discrimination, differentiation of synonyms, etc. They show grammatical categories and stylistic peculiarities of a lexical unit. They help in clarity defining polysemous words. Even if a polysemous word has been clearly defined, illustrative examples have their own significance in showing its collocational possibilities. They can clearly indicate the semantic features particular to certain synonyms in the synonymous group. In other words, sense discrimination of synonyms is known from the context given in illustrative examples. Set combinations such as set phrases, idioms, proverbs, etc. require illustrative examples to be clearly explained. Since definition and meaning of idioms and set expressions are not adequate to explain them, illustrative examples provide reference and guides for their usage and collocational peculiarities. Illustrative examples also show syntactical peculiarities of a lexical unit. The following examples will indicate accompanied by relationship. You walk with a friend, mix one substance with the other. Illustrative examples explain the meaning of the words, which function both as content as well as grammatical words. Consider the use of has as a main verb, he has a book, and as a supporting verb, as auxiliary verb, he has gone to London. Regarding the illustrative examples, the following questions can be asked. Which words require illustrative examples? What should be the length of the examples? Should constructed examples be used in addition to illustrations from corpus of written text? Should the illustrations be given with or without citations? As a matter of fact, except a few technical terms, no lexical unit should be given without illustrative examples. But even for technical terms, illustrative examples are far more useful for disambiguating their polysemous nature or determining their particular field of usage. For instance, in English, the word case as a noun in the field of medicine refers to an instance of a diseased condition. In the field of law, it denotes a question to be decided in the law court, the statement of facts, etc. And in the field of grammar, it refers to the form of a noun or pronoun that shows its relation to another. So, illustrative examples should be self-sufficient and understandable without any external help. The length of an illustrative example depends on the type of a dictionary. Shorter dictionaries can give short or reduced examples, only highlighting the use of the lexical units. Large dictionaries, on the other hand, can give full sentences as illustrative examples. In some cases, it is not unusual to find quotations longer than a sentence. Illustrative examples can be constructed or obtained from existing texts. In historical dictionaries, where lexical representation is governed by examples illustrating the development of form and meaning, examples are normally taken from write or oral texts from different periods. In general reference dictionaries, illustrative examples are usually obtained from different spoken and written text, and if suitable illustrative examples are not found, they are sometimes constructed by the lexicographer. At present, with large electronic text corpora available, this is less and less necessary and may not be even acceptable anymore. We can provide illustrative examples from the large database, large corpora, where several citations, several syntactic constructions or examples are available in the text to be produced in the dictionary. Thank you.